people that are hurting that need to know that healing is available. I know religion tells us we have to do X, Y, and Z, but faith takes that to a whole nother level and enables you to walk in a boldness that you long for. It's so incredible to have a relationship with Jesus. Like, even now, I'll look in the mirror now and say, oh, you're a multimillionaire. You're a multimillionaire, Zaressa. Your words are powerful. You can speak and mountains move. You are who God called you to be. You're a bold, fierce woman. I speak all of that over my life.
Ready to rock and roll? Is that action? All right.
Okay. That's right.
All right.
Absolutely. Go. Go.
Hello, everybody. It's Jason Will with
Go.
This is a real estate podcast, but we talk about leadership, personal growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. Leadership, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Growth, best version of yourself.
Go.
So this is a real estate podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Impact Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Will. We've got a very special episode for you today. I am joined by Zaressa.
Yes.
Zaressa. This is a powerful name, I think.
Yes, it actually means the last shall be first. That's why it starts with a Z and ends
Really?
with an A.
Wow. Names that begin in Z are very unique. You know, you are a very powerful woman. You got a very powerful mindset. You got a very powerful story. And you are a self-described faith walker, which we're going to get into deep today. But tell us a little bit about, give people out there a little background on who you are. Like, where'd you grow up?
Okay, I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I went to CF Viger High School. That's in Pritchard, Alabama. And when I left high school, I ended up going to Faulkner State Community College, and I received my associate's degree in pre-pharmacy because I always wanted to be a pharmacist, but that did not work out. I'm the first person in my family to attend college. So I didn't know that when you apply for a program such as the pharmacy program at Sanford, that is completely different from applying to the school. So I thought I was applying for the pharmacy program, but really I was just applying for the school. So when I got to Sanford, I didn't have the money. They told me that, hey, you don't have enough money to attend this school. I was discouraged. And then somebody reached out to me and said, hey, how much are you short? And I told them. They wrote a check.
Okay, hold on. Back up. Somebody just reached out to you.
Yeah.
I mean, was this a family member, a friend? Did you know this person well? How was this relationship even established? How did this person discover your need?
They asked me. We stopped in Montgomery the night before we were headed to Birmingham, and my mom and I stayed at their house. And so when we were leaving Birmingham to go back to Mobile, they texted me and said, hey, how did it go? And I was like, hey, I don't have the money to attend school, so I won't be going to college. Well, I won't be furthering my education at Sanford. And so that's when they told me to stop back by Montgomery, and it basically was an interview. They asked me, what do you want to do with your life? And I told them what I wanted to do. And they said, well, I'm going to make this investment in you. And I'm going to pay for you to go to school.
Wow.
Yes.
So, friend of the family?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. All right. So what happens next?
Oh, man. I knew then that I was supposed to be in Birmingham, because who writes a check for that amount of money and say, hey? But it was up to me to continue school and find resources for me to pay for school, because that was just a one-time check. So while I was at Sanford, I worked 5 jobs because I wanted to stay. I was determined. to walk away with a degree. And sometimes I worked the night shift, got back up, worked the day shift, still went to class. But I never felt like I was complete, because a piece of me that I left out, my mom and I were headed to Birmingham, and I disclosed to her that I had been raped. I had never told her. And I told her in a way that I think she probably will never forget. We were actually watching a Lifetime movie, and it was a girl on the TV, and she was raped. And my mom said, why didn't she tell anybody? She needs to tell somebody if, this happened to her. And I just left out of the room crying. Like, I can't forget it. I just walked out the room crying. I'm like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to tell somebody that this happened to you. And I still didn't tell her. I didn't tell her until I was 20. That was 2 years later. And when I told her, she pulled over on the side of the road and we just cried together. And that was the first time that I actually released what happened to me. I don't know how to explain it. I felt used. I felt like God just kind of left me on the side of the curb to figure it out by myself. And for me to get into Sanford, that was a break for me. That was a break. So I was excited.
Okay, so for some context here, I want to go over a couple things. So just to make sure I'm following you. So on the trip up to Sanford to complete the application or enrollment process, you guys stop at a hotel, watch this movie. Is that right? Was it on that trip?
No, it wasn't on this trip. My apologies.
Is it a trip before?
We were at home watching it.
The home at the
Yes,
okay.
I'm watching Lifetime.
Okay, so now I think I follow. So you watched that movie, you left the room crying. Then on the trip up or the trip back is when you finally it finally came out, like why you were emotional when you saw that movie and all those things.
Yes.
At the time of the rape or throughout your childhood, were you a person of faith?
Yes, my mom, she instilled that into us. And I think that's why it was so hard for me to say what happened to me, because I felt like I let God down because sex was not something that we talked about in my family. Like, that's not something you discuss. That's something you wait for marriage. And I've always dreamed of that up until that moment. And I felt like if I tell my mom, she's going to be so upset with me, like so upset. But now on the other side of this, it's so important to tell somebody immediately, because I realized me holding all of that in for 2 years put me in a psych ward.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot to get into on this podcast. This is, already we're just like almost 7 minutes in. It's very, very powerful. But so I want to make this distinction, though, because I think it's important. You have always been a person of faith. Yes. But after this incident, you just said that you felt like God had abandoned you or discarded you in some way. So a person of faith, it doesn't mean that you don't have moments where it's like you describe it as a faith walker. I mean, sometimes you fall down, right? So, but you picked yourself back up. So let's go back to what you were saying, after the incident and you were having all these emotions of being discarded. What happened next?
Just so that I can clarify, I had faith, but I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. Like, I didn't have a personal connection. I had religion. I had instructions. I didn't have a relationship. So my first instinct was to feel like I was abandoned because I didn't have that relationship to know that he would never abandon me. So that's where that started.
Ooh, I think that's really powerful. So I don't know, you're describing religion as instructions versus faith, and its association to relationship.
Yes.
So there's two very big differences there.
They are.
All right. So you just this incident happened. It was somebody that you knew?
Yes.
Was it somebody you were dating or no?
It was somebody I trust.
So like a friend, somebody who was a friend that you trusted. Mm-hmm. Did you see it coming at all, or was it a total shock?
It was one of those moments where it was like, how did I end up here? And I cried. Like, I just cried because I felt like I shouldn't have been in that place at that time, because I know my mother. She knows that I'm supposed to be at home at this time. So it's like, okay, Zaressa, you did this to yourself. But at the end of the day, no means no. Yeah. And I didn't realize that. I thought, hey, I guess I'm a part of this too. But no means no. No means no. That was hard. That was hard. I never want anybody to experience that. And if you have experienced it, it's so important to talk to somebody, because no does mean no. It doesn't matter if you look attractive and people say, oh, you did this to yourself. No means no at the end of the day. I can't help that you look attractive. Like, that's not an excuse. So
right. So you bottled this up from there.
Oh, yeah.
And it started, did it lead to depression or lead to the use of any other things like alcohol, or was it just a mental and physical toll?
It was mental. So I was 20 and I had just moved to Birmingham. I was in my late 20s, going on 21, because this was my second year at Sanford, and I became an RA. That was one of my jobs, and I will never forget this. It was my weekend, the very first weekend that everybody was moving in, and I was so stressed out. I took some pills. I said, forget it, I can't do this anymore. I took pills. I drove myself to the emergency room. Granted, I'm an RA, so you have to be there so that the people can get into their dorm rooms. I took the pills. I drove myself to the emergency room. And then when I came to, I said, oh my goodness, I have a job to do tomorrow. I can't lose this job. I just got this job. So I'm calling the school to let them know, hey, I can't make it. I'm sick, because they put me in a psych ward. I was attempted suicide. So the psych unit, put me on the psych unit. I had attempted suicide, so you have to stay there for 3 days. I couldn't stay there for 3 days. I had to get back. I just got this job. And I begged them and I begged them. They made me stay for 2 days. And I met this lady in my room, and she was a mother, and she told me her story of how her kids found her on the floor. And I just see her as my angel. I don't even remember her name, but I remember her face. I remember her laying in the bed next to me and just encouraging me and saying that we were going to do this. We were going to be better. We were going to be healed. And that day, my father came to see me because my mom was in Mobile. So she couldn't come see me. And I found out my dad lived here in Birmingham. So he came to see me. And he got to see me at my lowest point. He had no idea that this had happened to me because he wasn't in my life. But yeah, so he saw me at my lowest point, and he asked me, why did I do it? And I told him, that I had been raped. And of course, father instincts want to know when did this happen? And I'm like, it's too late. You wasn't there. You wasn't there. You wasn't there for me to tell you. You wasn't there for me to comfort me. You wasn't there. So that brought up some more emotions. I think that's why I ended up staying another day. And then they let me out. Of course, everybody wanted to know where was I, and I told them that I was sick, and I was from Mobile, so I just kind of put it saying that I had went home because I was sick. And that's where my journey started for healing. I ended up seeking help. I got on some antidepressants. I stayed on them for years. I was on antidepressant for years, and they made me so numb. But it wasn't a bad numb. It was a numb that I could embrace who I was becoming and seek help. So,
how long had it been since you'd seen your dad?
I don't even know how many years. It had been a minute.
So your mom knew, like, hey, she's in a bad place, probably I don't know, I can imagine that, how was her relationship with your dad? I mean, had they been in touch very often, or, because it may have been, what I'm going, where I'm kind of trying to get to here is, was this a matter of pride for her to have to, like, call him, because he'd been so absent, but she must have known, like, hey, I can't be there for her dad's close by, even though he's been absent all these years. She needs somebody right now.
My mom is definitely a prayer warrior, so she puts her pride to the side when it comes to her kids, and she'll do what she has to do. And we're a very, very private family. Very private.
Yeah, does she know you're here right now doing this?
I told her, I said, I got to get it out, Mom, because I know it's some more people that are hurting that need to know that healing is available. It's available. And I know religion tells us we have to do X, Y, and Z, but faith takes that to a whole nother level and enables you to walk in a boldness that you long for. It's so incredible to have a relationship with Jesus. Like, I can't explain it into words. It's more so a feeling of comfort. That was the lowest point of my life, the lowest point. And so I remember telling myself that, hey, the pills didn't work. Even though I was in counseling, I was taking medication. I said, okay, well, I'm just going to cut myself. I'm going to start cutting. Never cut it a day in my life. Don't even know exactly how to cut. But that was the enemy trying to trick me. So then I said, okay, well, I'm just going to get a tattoo. So that's how I got my very first tattoo on my wrist that says faith. So every time I would think about cutting myself or dying, I would look down at my wrist and just say, okay, I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith that I can overcome this. So that's why I got my first tattoo.
Well, I'm sure people are going to wonder the suicide attempt. I mean, you took the pills and immediately drove yourself to the hospital.
Yeah.
So that was obviously just a cry for help.
It was.
You were at a breaking point, right? And so you get on the antidepressants, you start to seek help, but still in that time period is when like the cutting or the idea of cutting, did you actually go through with it and cut yourself at any point, or you were just thinking about it?
I just thought about it. I've never picked up a blade. I don't even know how to cut. It was just a thought, like maybe that'll be easier. Like the enemy threw so many things out. Just drive your car off the road. I mean, nobody will miss you. Just so many different things. But I realized I found the church home. That was another thing. I had to find a place where I felt comfortable, where I could grow. I had to surround myself with people that would push me to greatness. And once I did that, I realized that I had a purpose that was so great, so heavy on me that's why the enemy wanted me gone. Like, he wanted me out because I wasn't on his team anymore.
Wow. So I would assume that a lot of this depression and getting to that big breaking point of the suicide attempt, you would attribute that to bottling all this up and not talking about it. I mean, it was a weight on you. So had you come out with it before, all of this could have probably been avoided. But you wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't have gone through all this. Your faith may not be as strong as it is right now, or you may not have this relationship with Jesus because prior to all this, you did not, right? You're more in that religious state as opposed to the relationship state. So did you lose your job as the RA?
I did not.
It's funny when people listen to this, they're like, well, did she lose her job? Like, they think about stuff like that. So I like to answer their questions.
I did not lose my job. I stayed in RA for about 3 years. The whole time I was at Sanford, I did everything imagined because I wanted to succeed. And I'm not the smartest person. And Sanford was tough.
Right.
It was tough. And coming from a school that's predominantly black to an environment that is completely different, I felt so alone. I think that was another thing that kind of sent me to a depression as well because I felt like I didn't fit in. And I knew I was different, but I didn't know. I feel like I didn't have anybody to depend on. And I'm the person that everybody runs to when they have an issue. You would never know anything was going on with me because I would be the one to encourage you, to tell you can do it. But now I realize that that's not healthy. That's not healthy. Everybody needs somebody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's got to be tough when, we haven't even put that into perspective. You're in a completely new city, don't have your family around you, don't have all your friends around you, and hadn't connected with anybody at the university at that point that you could consider a friend that you could confide in. Yeah. So you found the church family.
I did.
And that was big, right? So what was the experience like there? I mean, how did you know that was where you needed to be and what happened from there?
Now that I look back on it, I realize that everything is a divine connection. I was the RA one summer, and the person I was rooming with, she was like, hey, I want you to come check out this church. I was like, okay. I went to the church, and I just fell in love. Like, I fell in love immediately when I walked through the door. I just felt the love. I felt the presence, what I had been longing for. And that just sparked something in me. That sparked me to say, hey, Zaressa, you still got some fight in you. You have some purpose. And I went for it. And after like a year or two of going to Sanford, I decided to continue with the pharmacy program, and I didn't get accepted. I was just so crushed. I was lost. I was like, God, I did all this work, and now I can't even get into pharmacy school. I'm not smart enough. All these thoughts came through my head. And then I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in early childhood. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? So once I left Sanford, I started working with special needs students. Oh, did I love it? I loved it. I loved everything about my job, but I wanted more. I was like, it's something else that I'm supposed to be doing. This can't be it for me. This can't be it. So then I left there and I started working with behavior kids. They're not really kids, but people with behavioral problems. And I loved it. I loved everything about it, but I kept thinking there has to be more for my life. There has to be more. And just to fast forward, I ended up still doing pharmacy for about 12 years, but I left that. I got married in 2017, and the Holy Spirit was telling me just quit my job. I was like, I can't quit my job. I just got married. My husband's going to leave me. No, I'm not going to quit my job. That's me negotiating with the Holy Spirit. So then it hits me again in like 2019 to quit my job. Mind you, I had got really sick. I had fibroid tumors. I had to have 2 blood transfusions like a week or so before the wedding. I just got so sick. And so I was like, I can't quit my job because I need my insurance. I don't know. So this year, 2020, I decided to quit my job. That was it. I knew in this moment that it was time for me to quit my job and do ministry full time. And so I started a nonprofit organization called Sisters Link Up. And our mission is to equip, empower women to walk boldly in Christ. And that's where I came alive. I was telling my mom the other day, I was like, I feel like I've been reborn. So I feel alive right now.
That's powerful. So let's give some people a little bit more background information on your journey. So you're a pharmacy technician. You at one time wanted to be a pharmacist.
I just didn't get into the school.
Okay.
But when I didn't mention that. So I went to get my master's at UAB. To be a mental health therapist because I just knew that that's where I was supposed to be. And with this program, you're only supposed to take the test, the comps, 3 times. You only have 3 times to take the test. I failed all 3 times, and that was another low point in my life. I forgot to mention that. I just felt like a failure. I felt like I was back at Sanford, and I wasn't good enough. That's just how I felt. And I realized I had to pick myself back up and say, no, that's not what this means. It means, are you going to continue to fight?
So when you talk about picking yourself back up, it sounds like to me that's what that actually looks like or sounds like. That's self-talk. Am I right? Like you're motivating yourself through just talking to yourself. Positive affirmations, combating the negative voices in your head with positive voices. That's how you pick yourself back up, right?
Yes, I do a lot of self-talk. Even now, I mean, I want to laugh, but no, seriously, I'll look in the mirror now and say, oh, you're a multimillionaire. You're a multimillionaire, Zaressa. Your words are powerful. You can speak and mountains move. You are who God called you to be. You are a bold, fierce woman. I speak all of that over my life.
Well, I came across this graphic I think it was last week, but it says, speak what you seek until you see what you said.
I screenshotted it.
Yeah, and I thought, man, this is powerful. But, because, and there's, we are both real estate agents, and, you're just now getting into the business. But when hopefully this COVID thing ends and we can all start going to real estate conferences again, because those are life-changing. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard that yet in your brief tenure in real estate. But they're life-changing. But what you'll hear a lot of mentors and coaches and leaders in the industry say is, that positive affirmations are a part of their daily routine, and positive affirmations work, and start developing this mindset of a millionaire before you're a millionaire. And it sounds hokey. Like, it just sounds like, what will you want me to talk to myself in front of a mirror? I mean, that just doesn't sound right. But go back and do some research. There's a lot of research, and there's a lot of scripture about the power of the tongue. Yeah. So, it's funny how all that works. I try to talk to my agents as often as possible about by speaking it, you're like willing it to happen, right? And I just look at so many people and this is why I think it's really powerful that you come on today to share this story. And I'm sure you encounter this maybe in your non-for-profit group, that so many of us, when we hit these brick walls or these moments of adversity, we stop. They define us. We give up. And you've hit these roadblocks, at several points in your life, and have been able to pick yourself back up. And that's where we've come up with this term, or you've defined it as the faith walker.
Yes, I walk by faith every day.
But it doesn't mean you don't stumble.
Yes, it does not mean that. It doesn't mean you don't stumble. It means you see the bigger picture. You see that you can get over this. You can. And even as a real estate agent, I say it every morning. Oh, somebody is looking for Zaressa Richardson to be their agent. Somebody is, because I'm the only agent with the name Zaressa. So somebody is looking for me. That's how I view life. I call forth the things that I know are mine. I know who I am now, and I can't be tricked. I know who I am. I am a child of the Most High. I'm a part of the royal priesthood. I believe that.
Well, and it's interesting that you have chosen a profession that is, your days and weeks are riddled with rejection. People telling you no. And it's tough. I really feel like it's tough for a lot of reasons. But, one of our greatest fears is rejection. We want to be accepted. And, of course, you know what it feels like to not feel like you're accepted, to feel different. So there's a lot of similarities here where things kind of feed into things. And there's just this congruency relationship with all these things. But, I think you can look back on, your journey and go, gosh, a lot of these things I've done have prepared me for this rejection I'm going to face in the real estate industry, and how to be empathetic to people. During our pre-interview, you were talking about you don't want to just sell somebody a house. You want to know why they want to buy it or why they want to sell it. Why did they pick that house? One of my favorite questions to ask a seller when I'm getting involved into the listing, going through the listing process and the pre-marketing process, I'm fascinated with out of all the homes you could have bought, why this one? Yeah. So that's my favorite question. So I think it's important to people to hear that whatever has happened to you in the past doesn't have to define you. And the way out, or the pivot, the way you can get around it and circumvent this, is just saying positive things to yourself. Yes. But what would you say to somebody? So let's just kind of role play this for a second. What would you say to somebody who is okay, I hear what you guys are saying, but I don't feel even worthy of saying positive things to myself? What would you say to that? So this person is in your women's group right now. This is how she's feeling, and she's got her mask on, but she pulls you aside and says, I don't feel worthy of even speaking positive things over myself.
My very first reaction is to pray. That's my first response in anything. And then I remind them of who they are. Because sometimes you have so many bad seeds planted. Random people say, oh, you'll never be nothing. Or your family members can say, oh, that'll never work. Oh, I don't know why you chose that profession. And all of those words, those negative words, they take root inside your soul. And you wonder why your head is so low. It's because of those seeds. You didn't uproot them soon as they were said. So I would tell that person, we're going to uproot everything that was said to you that was negative. We're going to uproot it and plant it with what is the truth. And then you will be able to walk boldly in the person that you were called to be.
Well, and I think a lot of people, those negative seeds were planted by family members. Oh, yeah. They're planted by people that are closest to us. And the reason is probably because they were planted to them by somebody. It's like this hereditary, insanity of negativity that we just pass down from generation to generation. I'm sure, when you went to your mom and said, hey, I'm leaving my job where I'm getting a guaranteed paycheck, and then I'm going into a profession where it's 100% commission. Was she jumping up and down, all excited?
Oh, no.
She's like, well, have you lost your mind?
Oh, yes. We had to have several conversations about what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna get income. Zaressa, I don't want you to be out on the streets. Just so many different things. But when she heard me speak about my passion to serve, my passion to obey, then she realized, Zaressa, I trust you. I trust you. And I told her I have to break generational curses over my life. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. I'm not going to live paycheck to paycheck. And in order to do that, I have to put myself in a position. I have to put myself around people that will push me to that level. Because if I keep staying around the same system, if I keep staying in the same environment, I'm going to reap the same thing. And I don't want that. I don't want it. And sometimes being the first in your family, it hurts.
Yeah. Who do you trust more than your mom?
True.
I mean, if she tells you, hey, I appreciate your passion, but I just don't think this is a good idea. And a lot of times it's just, I don't know what it is, but they just know. I mean, people want security, yes. Right? And so, in that security, we could call that a comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And we know everything that we really want is outside of our comfort zone. And people, a lot of times, they're planting these negative seeds to keep us safe, or they think they are. But what the reality of it is, sadly, that they're just holding us back. So, kudos to you for not listening to that or refusing to listen to that. You understand where it comes from. Yeah. It doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from a place of protection. Exactly. But the greatest, to be in the greatest position for provision, there is no safety net. Their biggest rewards take risks. Yeah. And so I just feel like I'm sure you can put this in better words than I can, that we're not here to be mediocre or to just be average.
I agree. That's the faith walk. Even in my marriage, just imagine the conversation I had to have with my husband to say, hey, the Holy Spirit instructed me to quit my job. And it's like, it was a moment of silence. Like,
yeah, how long had y'all been married at that point?
3 years.
So 3 years into the marriage, you're like, hey,
yeah,
surprise.
Mm-hmm. And then I brought up the fact, you remember you told me you wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife? But he was like, yeah, but not this soon. So,
you're right.
I mean, it took a lot of tears. We cried together, and now I can see that his faith has grown through mine. So we're definitely trusting the process.
Yeah. So you're 30 days into this career.
Yeah.
And you would not know it. I mean, you would not know that you're just 30 days in, because there is, I've only been following you for a few days now, and I can just see the confidence in your social media. In your presence in front of the camera. I mean, just in the stuff that in the content you're creating, it's like you've been a real estate agent for 10 years. And so, you're sitting back and watching that and going, I'm sure your friends and some of your friends and family are going, she's been doing this 30 days. Where does this confidence come from?
I was broken. God really broke me. He broke me all the way down to the core. He allowed me to learn how to be dependent on him, because I haven't had a job since January. I quit my job in January. So this whole year I've been just fasting and praying, seeking his face. And all I can hear is, do you believe in the impossible? Because that's what he specializes in. So
I think that brings up another point, because what we're doing right now is we're talking to people that are listening, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking to people that are in it right now, that are going through something, some adversity. They're in a season they may be headed toward their low point, right? And I think it's important for them to make that distinction that you just made, that whatever has happened, even there have been a number of things, and there's probably a number of things to come.
Yeah.
They're coming. You expect them to come. You're not going to be surprised when they come. You may stumble when they come a little bit, but you're going to get right back up on that walk. But what I just heard you say is that there was purpose and intention behind what happened. And so I think when you have that mindset that there's purpose and intention around what happens, you just took the power away from the rape, the rapist, the incidents, the shame of the suicide, all of that the negative power that was over you, you've just dismissed it because it was intentionally done to bring you to where you are today, both spiritually, mentally, physically. There's just all this power you've gotten from it. So you don't have time to feel bad about it or regret anything that happened.
I agree. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the struggle that I had. Like, even our struggle, my husband and I are trying to conceive, and that has been a struggle. But every day I'm like, okay, God, I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. Those are that's my daily sentence every single day, every single day. And so often people are so inconsiderate because you've been married for a certain amount of time, you're a certain age, and like, oh, you don't have any kids? Your life is not complete. You need to have kids. Like, no, there's more to life than us having kids. So I don't discuss how we've been trying because I don't think people really care. They just want to see the benefit of us having kids just to post on Facebook. Nobody's going to come babysit.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm just trusting that process as well. So one day I could be a mother.
It's hard for me as a man to know what you've gone through the rape. And now there's a lot of women that when they can't conceive, they get into a depression they can't get out, and it kills the marriage.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for men, maybe it's even hard for your husband to relate to like what you're really going through. And so it's a testament, and again, of your faith that, it's just like, hey, I'm not lesser than. It just may not be a part of my journey. And if it's not, there's plenty of other things I can do. It just frees me up to pour into people in a different way, or who knows? I mean, there's a lot of kids out there that need homes. There's a lot of women, I think, probably in your group that could benefit from this time. So you've entered into a profession where there is no safety net, but there's also no ceiling of achievement either, which is one of the things I love most about it. But who knows? Who knows, a year now or 2 years from now, you may be in a position where you're making so much money that you're able to give abundantly. Yeah. Who knows where this is going to go. So, and I think it just goes back to what you said about trusting, in that word trust, like you're just trusting the process. You have trust in your faith. You have trust in your relationship, with your creator. And so just wherever it goes, it's going to lead, it's a purposeful path. Yes. It may not be what you've envisioned it to be, but it's going to be meaningful in some way. And I don't know if you would agree with this or not, but part of probably where your power comes from is that your meaning is not defined solely on what your outcome is, how it relates to you personally. So it's about other people, right? I mean, if you go back to your church home, that community of people was, absolutely critical to who you are, the woman you are today. Oh, yes. I have heard it described as God's power being in his people, and just the power of community. Mm-hmm. So you've just got so much to give, but you just need to be focused on the giving, not the receiving, right? I've heard it say like people can, if you're feeling depressed today and you just want to feel better, go do something for somebody else, and stop focusing on you and just go serve somebody else. And throughout your journey, I've heard stories of you serving in one way or the other, working with the kids, or working with the women in your group, but now you're going to be serving buyers and sellers. It keeps you grounded, right? Oh, yes. I am definitely a server. I'm one of those people who I believe that God just says, send her, she'll go do it for me. She'll get down in the trenches for me, and I'll take the lowest position. For me, real estate is about people, and I know people probably say that who are agents, but for me, it's about people. This is a divine connection that I have made with this person. How can I inspire them in this moment, whether they buy, whether they sell?
They are now a part of my network.
Wow. How can I inspire this person?
Yes.
So it kind of comes back to a kingdom-minded business.
Yes. Building the kingdom. And I don't want to say that I'm forcing my beliefs off on anybody. I'm just being me. When I meet you, I'm here to serve you. Not force anything off on you. I'm just here to serve you. How can I serve you? What is it that you need from me?
Well, and so much can be said for, we talk about it a lot in our training rooms here at my brokerage about the difference between transactional and relational. It's well beyond real estate, right? I mean, everything in life is really a transaction.
I agree.
You know, and so we had this virtual conference yesterday, and one of the folks leading the event talked about how the hashtag for next year is going to be, I'm going to butcher this, but it's hashtag relationships, or it's something just to refocus your mind, because through that service, through you serving others, money is just going to be a natural byproduct of that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like most agents get so focused on the transaction, and I take up for agents too, because I know how hard it is and what you must be going through right now. Because y'all are now a one income family. Are you working side jobs? I mean, have you set aside some savings, or what's the game plan there financially?
So we basically are a one income family. I have stuff that I do on the side, like make different things. I'm very crafty, so I sell those type of things, but that's not my legacy, put it that way. So I don't put as much emphasis on that. I have to remember what my legacy is, and that's my nonprofit organization and real estate. That's why I have to focus my main energy towards that. Now crafts, I like to do it on the side.
But it's paying what, a tank of gas, some money for groceries.
It depends on how big the order is, but yeah.
But you see you're under some pressure, right? Because your income was totally taken out of the family economy, and so I get where agents are, where you can see where they're pushed into that transactional mindset because they're desperate for the income. Because the people that we serve don't necessarily know how we get paid.
Yes.
They may think that Gary Keller's writing you a check every month, and she's fine. She gets a little stipend, but that's just not the case. So it's hard. I don't want to take anything away from agents that need a mindset adjustment, but they do need a mindset. It's just the same thing as you have to, when you stumble on this faith walk, there's probably going to be times in your real estate career where you have to reset yourself as that relational agent versus the transactional agent.
I agree. And that's something that I'm learning to use. My voice is powerful, but sometimes it can come off as nice. But no, I mean business. So that's my transactional side of me for my client. I mean business for them because I work for them. So yes, we have a relationship, but I'm still representing them. I hope that makes sense.
It does. I was talking about, that earlier today with my real estate team members. Let's take an expired listing, for example.
Okay.
If you're looking at an expired listing, I would say there's probably two reasons, especially in today's market. I mean, the market's hotter than a firecracker, right? So how could a listing in this market expire? I think it comes down to two key factors. It's either price or condition, or it's a combination of both.
Okay.
So I think somewhere along the way, the agent was not willing to be honest with them about what they should price it at, or that maybe they should get rid of the pet odor or the cigarette smell or the diaper genie, the litter box, or they should replace the stained carpet. They just go in there like, oh yeah, whatever price you want to put it at, and you don't have to worry about fixing anything. The new owners will come in and fix it up. So it's important to serving as also being honest.
Yes. And I had my very first client, and I was telling them about the homes in the area, about the price, and I was like, hey, I think this would be better, if we go this way, because I've looked at the comps, I've ran the numbers, and they trust me on that because that's my job. Because sometimes if you ask a client how much do you want to list your house for, of course they're going to go up to the high end because that's their home.
Right. I call it an emotional economy, especially if you have somebody that has been in a house like 25 years, they've raised their kids there, all these memories are there. That adds like $10,000 a year. It's crazy. So, you have to tell them like, look, I understand. Or you've got the people that they say, well, I put $25,000 in improvements in here. I want to get $25,000 back. And it doesn't always work that way. So I can sit here and talk real estate all day because I love real estate. But I want to just, before we're kind of running out of time, I wanted to talk, just rewind just a little bit.
Okay.
Are you still in a relationship with your dad? Was that just a one-time thing? Or are y'all, since y'all are living in the same town, do y'all see each other on a regular basis?
Yes, we do. I have a little brother who's 7, and I have a sister who's 2, whom I love very, very dearly. So those are kind of like my kids, and those are my dad's kids with a stepmom. So yes, I go see my dad often because I want to see my brother and sister. So yeah.
Do y'all still have some work to do on your relationship? Like, how is that going?
How do I explain it? It hurts.
So context-wise, I would imagine that you're not alone in the fact to where there was a parent who was just absent for a lot of years, and then all of a sudden comes back in to your life, and you're like, okay, you've already alluded to it a little bit by saying, hey, it's too late. The damage has been done. You can't come in here and be Superman all of a sudden. Where have you been? So there is a lot of those emotions probably are internalized, like, I wasn't good enough, right? It comes back to you again, right? Mm-hmm. I must not have been cute enough, smart enough, whatever the reason is for you to want to be a part of my life. So is that seems like it's still an area of your life that's unresolved?
I just wish he would understand the love I had for him. Like, I wish that there would come a point where he can say, I get it now. That's what I long for. But until that happens, like I tell him all the time, I'm still praying for you. I'm still praying that you turn everything around. But I don't know, like I think that's why I really look at Jesus as my father. Because I'm honest with God. I'm like, I need you to be my father in this moment. I need that hug. I need that love. I need that reassuring. I need that. When I told my father that I was in real estate, or if I tell him anything that I do, oh, I knew you could do it. Sometimes you don't want to hear that. Sometimes you want to hear, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know it took a lot for you. No, I'm not. I have to work at my smarts. I study. I study. It's not something that's natural for me. And so I wish he could see behind the scenes and say, man, she really works for that. So there's so many takeaways from this interview because there are so many people that are estranged from their parents. It's a blessing, I think, for you that it's not perfect, but one day, it's probably getting better a little bit at a time. But there's some people out there listening who their parents are still out of their life. Or for one reason or another, they're still separated. They can't get past the hurt feelings, or the parents are still drinking and on drugs, or whatever the situation is. And I don't know, you have given them a remedy to this situation, a way that they can look at it, that there's an eternal Father. Yeah. That's really first and foremost. And I think the other part that's an important distinction to make is that, we put a lot of expectations, especially on each other as human beings, but especially on our parents. And they are just as broken as we are. And human beings are just broken people. Mm-hmm. So you can't put your faith in something that's broken. You can just only pray for that to be better
than it is. So I don't know, whatever somebody's going through, whether it has been, a very serious issue, violence towards them or a suicide, they can come through it.
Yeah. Oh, yes. There is victory on the other side. I promise you, there is.
Well, what if I'm listening and I want to be a part of, what you guys are doing in terms of this empowerment group for women? Can I get involved? How do I get involved? What do you want to say to these folks out there?
Okay. Yes, we have a website. It's called Sisters Link Up. That's SistersLinkUp.org. And so what we do is I send out prayers. I send out encouragement. We have a blog that we do every month. We have so many ways for you to connect with real people who have real stories, who have tried so many different things and it didn't work. And we're just here to just empower you, to remind you that you are somebody. You are somebody. You are somebody. And you can do it. You can get past whatever it is that you're going through. So we have 7 people on the team, and that's including myself. And we do all types of things throughout the community. I'm just thankful to be a part of that. Thankful.
All right. So what if I'm listening and I'm like, I want her to sell my house? How should people get in touch with you? What kind of communication do you feel comfortable sharing? Should they send you a Facebook message, or are you comfortable giving out any other contact information?
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook. I am the only realtor named Zaressa Richardson. That's spelled Z-A. That's Z as in zebra, A-R-E-S-S-A. My phone number is 205-215-7295. Or you can write me on my website, which is Zaressa Richardson at .kw.com. That's ZaressaRichardson.kw.com.
So, and two, if I'm listening to this and I'm about to take some pills, can I text you?
Oh, you can text me and we will pray together. I promise you, you'll be like, Zaressa, okay, I get it. I don't even want to take the pill. Don't even worry about it. Because we're going to get through it. We are going to get through it. There is victory on the other side. I am proof that when you turn your life over, when you completely say, hey, I give up, God, I give up. I trust you. I trust your plan. I trust that you will rain down the manna from heaven. And the manna is the food that he rained down from heaven. And that can represent money. I'm telling you, he can do it. There are people who are out here that's waiting to bless people. And he can send them your way. I just believe it. I believe it. And I'm proof of it. He has done it for me throughout a pandemic. He has done it for me, so I believe that.
Well, it's not easy to come in here and share such personal details about your life and know that anybody can get a hold of this information. Yes. No matter whether they're in this country or another country or, 5 months from now or 5 years from now. This content is out there, and that's the point, right? It's to put yourself out there in such a way that people relate to you. And just to know that they're not alone. And so that's why you're here, is to, to be that messenger and to be, that light in the darkness, and just say, hey, listen, let's link arms. We're not in this alone. You're not alone. We're in this together. So I don't know. It's still, even though you're like this super empowered woman and like when they go to your Facebook page, they're going to see like this warrior princess realtor. You're human just like they are. You're fragile in a lot of ways. So I love the transparency, the authenticity, the bravery it took to come in here and do this interview today. And I hope people that are listening, if they aren't personally going through some of the issues we discussed today, that they will share this with somebody. If they're in the vicinity of the greater Birmingham area, that they share this podcast with somebody, or share your website, the group website, and them say, hey, go get involved in this ministry. It could save somebody's life.
Yes. We all need somebody. And I'm here to encourage you. I am here. This podcast took a lot because I am a very private person. I mean, I will talk to you one-on-one, but to do this on air, it took confidence. It took faith for me to express to you what I've been through. It took faith, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity. I sincerely appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Impact Agent Podcast. If you like the show and got something out of it, please like the Impact Agent Podcast on Facebook and rate and review the show on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. This really helps us grow the show and helps other agents find it. Please share it with your friends and coworkers as well. You want us to deliver the show to you via email every week? Then email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com and we'll send you the show every week. Please let us know what you think about the show, what you like, what you don't, or possibly make a suggestion about a topic you want to hear. Email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com or leave us a message on Facebook at Impact Agent Podcast. Until next week, everybody be productive, safe, and happy, and always keep learning. This podcast is produced by Johnny Gwynn at Deep Fried Studios in Mobile, Alabama, and is paid for and powered by ImpactAgentUniversity.com.